Welcome back. In the last video yesterday, I took us through the process of installing a 11-speed GRX rear derailleur, a 10-speed Shimano cassette, an 11-speed chain, and a set of Speed Veloce 10-speed shifters. So where I left off last night was I was just trimming the shifter, the rear shifter. I do have the Campy front derailleur still on. And this other box that you might have seen in the video yesterday, this is actually the front derailleur. This is the correct GRX front derailleur. And as far as front derailleurs go, generally speaking, the cable pull is not as much of an issue. So I'm not going to put it on today. We're going to do that some other time. But it's here when we're ready to do that. So I have to finish hooking up these, or re-hooking up these brake cables. So that's what I want to do first. And then I'm going to go ahead and put on some bar tape, I'm going to reuse the old bar tape actually, and retape this on. I don't think it's necessary to redo all the brake cable housing and all the bar tape yet, because I want to make sure that this really works before we do that. This was Peter's bar tape that I used. Had it on his bike. Took it off, put it on this bike, and still using it. This is going to look terrible, but it's just to do a quick tape so we can go for a quick ride. I'm going to throw some pedals on here, a saddle. I'm not going to make you watch all that, and we're going to go test ride this bike. All right, well, it's not shifting perfectly, and then the second to last gear on the upper end of the cog set, it just don't want to shift into that. It kind of goes above it, so we're going to stop here and get some coffee and see if we can figure this out. While I was sitting there at the cafe, I decided to pull up my internet connection and browse a little bit to see if maybe I overlooked something while trying to put this combination together. And I came across a forum that was basically talking about exactly this, whether the Campy 10-speed shifters will work with a Shimano 11-speed derailleur and a 10-speed Shimano cassette. And in theory, it should work. But what I'm seeing is the last shift before the final shift, so shift number, I guess 8, because this is a 10-speed, so shift 9 would be the 10th gear. Anyway, not to be confusing, but the second to last shift, it seems like it's shifting a lot more than the other shifts previous to that. And so what I was reading on this forum is that Campy shifters they don't have consistent pull for each shift, whether that is by design or whether that is just a virtue of the way that the mechanism inside the shifter is made. I don't actually know. It looks like reading through the forum, there's a lot of people with opinions about it, and then there's also some information about the pull ratios from somebody who actually wrote an article, who was, I think he was the person who wrote the article on the Arts Cyclery. So anyway, I came across this forum, and it's a lot of information to digest right now. And I thought, well, before I dive too deep into this, my initial thought was, well, maybe there's some crud in the shifter. These are old shifters. They've been sitting around for a while. Who knows what's going on inside? Maybe there's a little dirt in there. The cables are old. I haven't replaced those. So maybe the housings are worn and they're causing some shifting issues. And then my other thought was maybe there's something to do with the upper and lower limit screws. I haven't really dialed those in perfectly yet. So before I go off into the deep end here, which I think I may have to, I'm gonna go up here. There's this really steep climb, and the whole idea for doing this is to get better gearing on this bike. And if this isn't enough gearing anyway, I don't wanna go through the trouble of trying to sort all this out, only to find out that this isn't enough gearing anyway. So we're gonna put that on hold for a second. We're gonna go ride this very steep gravel road and check out this gear ratio, because it does shift all the way to the biggest gear in the back, or the easiest gear. So we can test it out. Let's do that first. All right, so we're making our way up this climb. We're in a really steep spot right here. This is probably about 16%, maybe 18. And it's good. The gearing's definitely better than it was. I still think a 36 might be better. Perhaps a 30 tooth on the front. This GRX came with a 31, but I know they make a 30. So I don't know if the derailleur would handle a 30, 36 on the back with a 30 on the front. But that would be pretty good, especially if you're gonna carry any weight on the bike. One of the comments in the forum went so far as to say that the derailleur pull ratio wasn't exactly 1.5 or 1.4, whatever it is, and so that could be part of the issue. So if that's the issue, I mean, it seems like that would be simple enough to fix, because you could just file down where the cable mounts into the derailleur, maybe reroute the cable slightly. That's a common way to deal with pull ratio, but I don't think that's what it is. What I'm seeing is that the last couple of shifts are bigger jumps than the beginning shift. You're trying to adjust the derailleur down at the bottom of the cassette, and then it's all shifting fine, all the same, and then one big step comes at the end. Somebody mentioned maybe using spacers to space out the cogs. I don't want to do that. I would rather do what one of the commenters said they did. They went inside the shifter body and filed down the barrel on the upper end to reduce the last couple of clicks, and that was the ticket. So anyway, I thought this was going to be, naively I thought this was going to be a slam dunk, but it still could just be my shifter cable housing, or could just be some crud in there. So before we get too caught up in re-engineering the wheel here, literally the wheel inside the shifter, we should check all the basics first. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. Okay, so we're back from the ride, and what I want to do now, just to see if maybe there's a possibility that this is not due to the shift pull of the shifters, but actually maybe the cables are hanging up in there. Who knows, right? There's always a possibility that it's not something more complicated. I'm not that optimistic that it is, but it might as well try that first before we get too far into this. So, and let me just go ahead and show you what it's doing here, so you guys can see this. Okay, on the stand, it seemed like it was working pretty well last night and this morning even. But let's go ahead and I'll shift through so you can see. So we'll go all the way to the bottom of the, so this is all the way at the bottom. I'm in the small ring on the front. And let's go ahead and shift through the cassette. I should mention, while I was out on the ride, I did try to trim it a little bit one way and the other just to see what would happen. And it didn't make it better. It actually made it worse both ways. So here we're good, right? It's shifting fine. There was a little bit of noise when I was riding in these couple of gears here in the middle. There was a little bit of rubbing. And then as we go up, it starts to make noise here. So here's the first sign that something isn't right. I don't know if you can hear that. But there is a little bit of skipping going on. Okay, so we've got another shift to do. So we try to shift to the next gear, and you can see it went to the big, it immediately jumped to the big ring. So that would confirm what I was reading online, that the last couple of shifts are longer, they're further. So everything was going pretty well down in the bottom, and then it starts to fall apart as you get further and further up. So now I actually need to shift that last gear to get it to keep from skipping. So now if I try to shift down to this gear, the next one down, here's what happens. See, it doesn't want to shift. So then I got to shift again, and now it's going to shift 2 gears. It's going to skip that one and go to this one. So that's what's happening. And as you can hear, it's still skipping a little bit. It wants to catch the next gear down. So that is the problem. Now once we get to here, things start to smooth out, and it gets a little better, and it gets a little bit better, and a little bit better. And then actually what I would do normally is I would shift to the big ring now, and it's pretty smooth. There's a little bit of trimming I would do if I could keep all the shifts consistent. I would trim this a little bit better here, and it would get rid of all that noise. But unfortunately, I can't do it, at least not the way it's set up now. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap this. We're gonna try a different cable in here, just for ruling out all possibilities, rule out all the simple stuff first. This is exactly why I didn't wrap the bar tape this morning more better. Because I knew I would be back here. I had a feeling I would be back here pulling this off. Because we didn't pull it off. That's the problem. We tried to pull it off, but we didn't pull it off. At least not with the ShimerGo 10 speed with Shimano 11 speed. So have any of you made this work yourselves? Let me know in the comments. If you did it work right out of the box, or did you have to do some modification? And if it didn't work, let me know also. That would be helpful as well. So we're going to take these cables off. Yeah, it was a fun experiment. I guess you're probably wondering, well, why don't you just get the 11-speed shifters, since that's what Shimano makes this for. And I really wanted these campy shifters to work, and I really wanted the 10-speed cassette to work because they're just really affordable. This is going to be more of a kind of mixed terrain gravel bike, and you know, the cassettes, things like that wear out faster when you ride off-road. So it'd just be cheaper to be replacing 10-speed stuff versus 11 speed or even 12 speed. You might be saying, well, why don't you just get a Campy cassette and derailleur if you want that? And the cassettes, Campy doesn't make a lot of wide range cassettes. Campy was really a road racing and cyclocross brand for a really long time. They just started getting into gravel, which with their 13 speed stuff, but obviously that's not going to work. And I don't want a 1x. I don't really care for the 1x setup. I like having a wider spacing on the front and then have a narrow spacing on the back. I like that. I've even thought about going to a triple. That's another option. Go back to the triple on the front with the bailout gear being the small gear, and then have a more reasonably spaced rear cassette, like a road cassette. I've thought about that. So I've thought about a lot of different ideas, and I really wanted this one to work the best. You know, before we undo these cables, we could run another experiment here. We could put a 9-speed cassette on here and see what that does. That might be kind of fun. I've read online that the 9-speed, actually, 9-speed ShimerGo is really popular. And I literally just took a 9-speed cassette off my other bike. So, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just try this really quick. This will be kind of a fun experiment. Cool. That's tight enough just for this. So here we go. There's 1, 2, already hearing some noise. 3 doesn't want to shift. 4 didn't shift. 5 shifts. Whoa, 6 jumped up, skipped a gear. No, this is not working. Not at all. All right. Not even close. What are we doing? Okay. What the hell are you doing? Nope. All right. Well, all right, guys. We could try a new shifter cable and a new shifter cable housing. My feeling is that I don't think it's this. I just don't. I mean, this housing, there's really nothing special about it. There's nothing wrong with it. I think what it is there's just those extra shifts at the last 2 places. Those extra long pull on the shifter is what's causing the problem. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I didn't really like the position of these anyway when I was riding it today, so I'm going to change that. But I think what I'm going to do is just take these off. Wow, I don't know. I think I'm going to take them off, take them apart, clean them up inside, and see if I can figure out why they pull so oddly like that. I'm going to read those forums, see what else I can find out, if anyone has actually made this work successfully or not. So let me know. Have any of you guys done what I've tried to do here with the 10-speed Campy shifters? These are what are called QS, so I don't know if that means anything. Here, QS is the shifter on this side, and that side just says 10-speed. These are Veloce shifters, so I don't know if there's a difference with those. I will look it up online and see if I can find out any information about the internal parts in here. Maybe this is one from a different era, and so the pull of the cable's different. Let me know if you know anything about this in the comments. I'd really enjoy hearing about this. This is really fascinating to me. I'm not ready to give up yet. I think I'll do some research, and if I am going to give up, I need to decide. Do I want to stick with GRX? All because of the what I really like about it is basically the extra tire clearance. I guess that's one good thing, and then the clutch on the rear derailleur. I guess that's a benefit. But I'm not against getting rid of it all and selling this and getting something that does work. I really need good gearing. I want to be able to ride up a hill on this bike. I want to be able to go bike packing on this bike. So, and I don't want disc brakes. I want rim brakes. I want to keep it simple. So I don't know. Triple on the front. Is there another mountain bike setup that would work? Should I go with 9-speed? Maybe a 9-speed derailleur would work with these shifters. I don't know. We're going to have to dig back into this. But I do want to hear from all of you out there, so feel free to let me know in the comments section down below. How does this work? Does it not work? What works? Let me know your experience and thoughts and ideas. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video.